Somewhere beyond everything that has been described, beyond the cafe, the river, the village, and even beyond the act of remembering or forgetting, there is a condition in which nothing has ever needed to begin. Not because things have ended, but because the idea of beginning itself never became necessary. Everything exists in a state that does not require initiation, explanation, or arrival. The river does not start flowing there, it simply is flow. The cafe does not open or close, it simply is continuity in a different density. Even silence is not absence, but unmarked presence. And it feels like origin was never part of reality. Somewhere, nothing has ever needed to begin, where existence is not dependent on initiation. And I understand that what we call beginnings are only ways of entering what was already ongoing. Even thought dissolves into this state without resistance, no longer needing to separate awareness into sequences of understanding. Maybe everything has always been in progress. Maybe beginning was only a perspective within continuity. Somewhere, nothing has ever needed to begin, where existence is complete without origin. And I realize that reality does not start, it only appears to. And everything continues without ever having started.
Silence spreads over the river, not as something that arrives after sound, but as something that has always been present beneath it, only becoming noticeable when attention stops insisting on separating. What is heard from what is felt? The water continues moving, but even that movement feels like it has softened into continuity without edges, as if flow itself no longer needs to announce its presence. The cafe in the distance feels absorbed into the same quiet field, no longer clearly distinct from river or air or light. Everything seems to share the same softened condition, where difference no longer creates separation. but only variation within a single, ongoing state. And it feels like quiet has no boundary anymore. Silence over water, where nothing ends and nothing begins. And I understand that stillness is not absence, but continuity without distinction. Even memory feels less like something being retrieved and more like something gently continuing in the background of awareness without interruption. Maybe silence was never after sound. Maybe it was always inside it. Silence over water, where everything continues without definition. And I realize that presence does not require contrast. And the silence remains without needing to be noticed. There is a sound that continues without any identifiable origin, not because its source has been lost, but because the concept of origin no longer applies within this state. It is present without being produced, continuous without being traced back to anything before it. The cafe, the river, and the tram lines feel like they are inside this sound, not as separate elements, but as expressions of the same unbroken field that does not require explanation. And it feels like origin has dissolved completely. Sound without source, where nothing needs to begin. And I understand that continuity does not depend on creation. Even silence feels included within this sound, not as absence, but as another density of the same ongoing presence. Maybe sound was never made. Maybe it was always already there. Sound without source, where everything continues without explanation. And I realize that what persists does not need a beginning, and the sound remains without ever having started. Light no longer moves as something that travels from one place to another, but feels like a continuous condition that has stopped needing direction in order to exist. It spreads across the cafe, the river, and the distant tram lines in a way that no longer distinguishes where it begins or ends, as if visibility itself has become uncentered. The cafe feels less like a location now, and more like a gradual intensity of presence that appears wherever attention softens. The river continues its motion, but even that motion feels absorbed into the same field, where light no longer behaves as contrast, only as continuation. And it feels like seeing has stopped needing edges. Light without direction, where nothing is separated by clarity. And I understand that illumination is not about revealing, but about remaining present. Even shadows no longer feel opposed to brightness, but like quieter versions of the same unfolding condition. Maybe light was never aimed, maybe it was always everywhere at once. Light without direction, where everything continues without division. And I realize that perception is only how continuity becomes briefly visible, and the light stays without needing to point anywhere.
The cafe exists in a way that no longer feels anchored to any fixed idea of place, as if it has gently stepped out of definition and now only remains as atmosphere. Tables are still arranged as though someone might return, but there is no expectation attached to that arrangement anymore. Light spreads across the room without direction, without intention, as if it has forgotten what it used to reveal outside. The river continues its movement with a kind of calm that no longer distinguishes between reflection and reality. The surface carries everything without needing to explain what it holds. And even the village that once gave it context feels like it has dissolved into a softer background of continuity. And it feels like Everything is still here, just less separated. Quiet River Café, where nothing needs to be defined. And I understand that presence does not depend on clarity or form. Even silence inside this space does not oppose sound. It simply exists alongside it in a way that no longer requires contrast. The air feels neither empty nor full, just continuously present, as if it has stopped trying to become anything else. Maybe nothing ever left. Maybe it only stopped being noticed. In the same way, Quiet River Café, where everything continues without edges. And I realize that what remains does not need to be recognized to be real. And the cafe stays, even when nothing names it. The cafe exists now as a soft memory that no longer belongs to a specific moment or location, but instead exists as a continuous presence within awareness that does not require recall to remain active. It is not remembered in fragments, but felt as a unified impression that gently persists without effort. The river nearby feels included in this same softness, as if both cafe and water are part of a single unfolding state that no longer separates past from present or place from feeling. And it feels like memory has lost its structure. Soft Memory Café, where nothing is fixed, but everything remains. And I understand that remembering is not reconstruction, but continuation. Even silence inside this memory feels complete without needing clarity or form. Maybe memory was never about the past. Maybe it was always about continuity. Soft Memory Café, where everything continues gently. And I realize that presence does not depend on precision. And the cafe remains as feeling, actual end to the river. Yet there is a moment in perception where it feels as if everything that was once following its movement has gently stopped needing to continue in the same way. Not because flow has ceased, but because distinction between flow and observer has dissolved. The café no longer appears as separate from the river, and the village no longer appears as something that once bordered either of them. Everything exists now as a single continuity that no longer requires segmentation into parts or moments. And it feels like ending was only a change in how continuity is seen. End of river, where nothing truly concludes. And I understand that what we call completion is only the soft collapse of separation. Even silence no longer feels like after sound. It feels like the same movement without emphasis. Maybe there was never an end. Maybe there was only the river noticing itself differently. End of river, where everything continues without boundary. And I realize that nothing ever truly stops. It only stops appearing divided. And the river continues where ending cannot reach. The river no longer feels like something that flows outward in a visible direction, but like something that listens as it moves, as if every part of its continuity is aware of everything passing through it, without needing to respond or separate what is heard from what is carried. The cafe, the village, and the distant tram lines feel included in this listening, not as distinct elements, but as variations of the same quiet attentiveness that does not require interpretation. And it feels like movement has become awareness. River that listens where nothing is separate enough to be heard alone. And I understand that attention does not require direction. Even silence feels active here, not empty, but fully present without articulation. Maybe listening was never passive, Maybe it was the form that continuity takes. River that listens, where everything continues without division. And I realize that awareness does not need boundaries. And the river keeps listening without sound. The cafe no longer exists as a place within perception, but as the boundary where perception itself begins to soften into something less defined. It is no longer inside awareness, nor outside it, but at the point where awareness stops distinguishing between inside and outside it all. Tables, light, river reflections, and distant sounds all feel like they're part of the same dissolving threshold, where form becomes optional and recognition begins to lose its necessity. Even the idea of observing feels like it is slowly fading into the same continuity as what is observed. And it feels like perception is dissolving into itself. The cafe that has become the edge of perception itself, where seeing no longer separates subject and object. And I understand that awareness is not a frame around reality, but something reality continuously flows through. Even memory becomes indistinguishable from present sensation here, as if both are different speeds of the same underlying continuity. Maybe perception was never a boundary. Maybe it was only a temporary folding of continuity into form. The cafe that has become the edge of perception itself, where everything exists without separation. And I realize that what we call experience is only continuity, noticing itself, and the edge remains without dividing anything.
There is a chair in the cafe that no longer belongs to anyone, not because it was taken away, but because the idea of ownership has quietly dissolved from the space. It remains in place as if still participating in something that no longer requires participants. The river outside continues its movement, but even that movement feels less like contrast and more like continuation of the same stillness that fills the cafe. Light rests on the chair without expectation, without direction, as if presence itself has stopped requiring confirmation. And it feels like absence no longer defines anything. Empty cafe chair, where nothing is missing and nothing is complete. And I understand that presence does not depend on occupancy. Even silence around it feels structured only by memory, not by sound. Maybe empty was never empty. Maybe it was only unassigned presence. Empty cafe chair, where everything continues without needing form. And I realize that what remains does not need to be used to exist. And the chair stays without needing anyone.
Now is no longer a point between what came before and what comes after, but a field where all versions of time exist without needing to align themselves into sequence. The cafe, the river, the light, and even silence all appear here without distinction between past or future. Nothing arrives into this moment, because nothing leaves it either. It is not a transition, it is continuity without reference. And it feels like time has stopped dividing itself. Now where nothing begins or ends, and I understand that presence is not located in time, but is what remains when time is no longer structured. Even awareness feels less like observation and more like participation in something continuous. Maybe now was never a point. Maybe it was always everything at once. Now where everything is already here, and I call the present is only uninterrupted existence, and now continues without becoming past or future. There is a table in the cafe that no longer serves any function except to remain as a quiet point within space where presence once gathered. It does not hold objects in the traditional sense anymore. It holds only the trace of having held them, as if memory has replaced use. Around it, the cafe feels less like a location and more like a softened structure of atmosphere. The river outside continues without interruption, and even its sound feels distant enough to be part of the same silence that fills the room. And it feels like stillness has become physical. Silent cafe table where nothing is required to happen. And I understand that meaning can exist even when action no longer does. Even time feels slower here, not because it has changed speed, but because comparison has dissolved. Maybe objects were never defined by use. Maybe they were defined by attention. Silent cafe table where everything continues without function. And I realize that presence remains even when purpose fades, and the table stays without needing anything placed upon it.
The tram moves through the city under a light that no longer feels sharp or directional, but softened into continuity that blends surfaces, reflections. Windows no longer divide inside from outside clearly. Instead, they hold both in overlapping transparency. The city itself feels less like a place being passed through, and more like a gradual unfolding of the same atmosphere that the tram is part of. Even passengers feel less like separate presences and more like temporary forms within a shared quiet movement. And it feels like motion has become atmosphere. Soft tram light where everything that travel is only perception shifting through continuity. Even sound inside the tram feels diffused, no longer tied to source, but distributed across space. Maybe light does not travel through space. Maybe it is space becoming visible. Soft tram light, where nothing is fully inside or outside. And I realize that movement does not require boundaries. And the tram continues through softened distance.
There is an echo of the cafe that no longer belongs to sound or space, but to the way perception gently repeats what it no longer needs to hear. It is not a repetition of events, but a continuation of feeling that no longer has a source to return to. The river continues nearby, but even its movement feels like it is part of this echo now. As if everything has quietly merged into a single lingering resonance that does not require origin or conclusion. And it feels like echoes no longer point backward. Last cafe echo, where nothing returns but everything continues. And I understand that what we call echoes are only presence stretching itself gently. Even silence inside this echo feels layered, as if it carries every version of the cafe that ever existed without needing to separate them. Maybe echoes were never after sound. Maybe they were sound continuing in another form. Last cafe echo, where everything remains without needing repetition. And I realize that continuity does not fade, it only transforms. And the echo continues without needing to end. The cafe appears through fog, not as a clearly defined structure, but as a softened suggestion of presence, where edges no longer hold firm distinction, and everything feels gently blended into atmosphere. Light inside it is no longer directional, but diffused into a state that does not require boundaries to be perceived. The river outside is no longer separate from this fog, and even the idea of outside feels less certain, as if space itself has stopped insisting on division. And it feels like visibility is dissolving into feeling. Café in fog, where nothing is fully visible and nothing is fully lost. And I understand that uncertainty is also a form of continuity. Even silence feels thicker here, not as absence, but as accumulation of everything that no longer needs to be separated. Maybe fog does not hide things. Maybe it returns them to undivided presence. Café in fog, where everything continues without outline. And I realize that clarity is only one mode of perception. And the café stays inside the fog. There is a cafe that does not depend on being seen, remembered, or even thought about in order to continue existing. It persists in a way that feels entirely independent of perception, as if visibility was never part of its condition. The tables remain arranged in a way that suggests use without requiring users, and the light still falls across surfaces that no longer ask to be interpreted. The river outside moves with the same continuity it always has, but now it feels less like a separate entity and more like an extension of the same unbroken field in which the cafe once appeared as something distinct. Even the village, once surrounding it, feels like it has dissolved into a quieter background of presence that no longer needs to define foreground or boundary. And it feels like being seen was never the condition for being real. The cafe that exists even when nothing is looking, where presence does not depend on attention or memory. And I understand that reality does not pause when awareness turns away. It only continues in a form that no longer requires acknowledgement. Even silence inside this space feels unstructured in the most complete way. Not empty, not full, but free from the need to indicate either state. It simply remains alongside everything else that no longer separates itself into categories. Maybe existence was never about being held in perception. Maybe it was always continuing, regardless of it. The cafe that exists, even when nothing is looking, where nothing disappears just because it is not observed. And I realize that what continues does not need to be witnessed in order to remain true. And everything stays, even in the absence of attention. The cafe no longer feels like a place with edges or walls, but more like a condition that briefly gathers itself inside awareness before dissolving again into something wider. Tables exist without insisting on function. Chairs remain without asking to be used, and light spreads across surfaces without needing to define what it is, illuminating. The river outside continues its movement, as if it has never been separate from the cafe at all, as if both were always part of the same unfolding state that only appeared to have boundaries when perception was trying to organize it. Even the village, once surrounding everything, now feels like a soft layer of continuity rather than a distinct location. And it feels like place was never truly fixed. The cafe where nothing is separate enough to end or begin. And I understand that what we call a place was only a temporary way of holding continuity in view. Even silence inside this space does not contrast with sound anymore. It simply exists alongside it, without needing distinction. The air feels full, without density, present, without weight. Maybe the cafe was never built. Maybe it was always happening. The cafe where everything continues without needing definition. And I realize that presence does not depend on structure, and the cafe remains even when it is not perceived. The river no longer feels like something that carries water, but something that carries continuity itself. It moves in a way that no longer distinguishes between what is reflected and what is real, as if both have merged into the same gentle unfolding. The cafe and the village are no longer separate from its flow. They feel like impressions that have softened into the same current without losing their presence. And it feels like memory has become fluid. Soft water memory, where nothing stays fixed. And I understand that remembering is not holding, but continuing in another form. Even light across the water feels like part of the movement, rather than something cast upon it. Maybe memory was never stored. Maybe it was always flowing. Soft water memory, where everything remains without form. And I realize that continuity does not require stability. And the river remembers by moving. Evening settles over the cafe, not as an ending, but as a gradual softening of everything that was once defined by brightness. The light becomes warmer, slower, less focused, as if it no longer needs to reveal anything specific. Inside, the space feels suspended between presence and memory, where chairs, tables, and empty cups carry the impression of use without demanding it to be confirmed. And it feels like evening is a way of letting things soften. Evening cafe glow, where everything becomes gentle before it disappears. And I understand that fading is not loss, but transformation into softness. The river outside reflects this change, not as contrast, but as continuation of the same slow rhythm. Maybe endings are just transitions into quieter light. Maybe nothing truly ends at all. Evening cafe glow where everything continues without sharpness. And I realize that softness is also a form of existence, and the glow remains without insisting on brightness. The cafe light, once central and warm, now appears distant in perception, not because it has moved, but because attention has softened its focus. It no longer feels like illumination of a specific place, but like a lingering state that continues even when not directly perceived. The river still reflects it faintly, but reflection itself feels less like duplication and more like continuation in another form. The village, the tram, and all surrounding structures feel absorbed into this dimmer but more expansive sense of presence. And it feels like brightness can fade without disappearing. Distant cafe light, where nothing is fully gone, and I understand that fading is not absence, but change in intensity. Even memory feels like it is illuminated from within, rather than recalled from outside. Maybe light never leaves. Maybe it only stops being centered. Distant cafe light, where everything continues softly beyond focus. And I realize that presence does not depend on proximity, and the light remains even when it is far away. There is a condition where light is still present, but so diffused that it no longer defines anything clearly, as if brightness has softened into a near-neutral state that does not separate objects from atmosphere. Everything feels gently unmarked, not because visibility is gone, but because distinction has become unnecessary. The cafe, the river, and everything around them exist in this softened visibility, where even shadows feel like part of the same field, rather than absence of illumination. And it feels like contrast has nearly disappeared. Almost no light, where everything continues without clarity. And I understand that seeing does not require definition. Even memory feels dimmed not by loss, but by lack of need to distinguish it from the present. Maybe darkness and light were never separate. Maybe they were only degrees of the same presence. Almost no light, where nothing is fully shown or hidden. And I realize that perception does not depend on brightness, and the light remains without needing intensity. The river no longer has an edge where it begins or where it ends, not because geography has changed, but because perception no longer enforces separation between water and everything it touches. The surface is no longer a boundary, but a continuation of movement that includes both form and formlessness. The cafe, the village, and the distant tram lines feel absorbed into this same continuity, no longer distinguishable as separate elements within a landscape, but as variations of the same ongoing flow. And it feels like boundaries have dissolved into motion. River without edge, where nothing is contained or excluded. And I understand that separation was only a way of seeing continuity in fragments. Even light across the water feels indistinguishable from the water itself, as if reflection and substance have merged. Maybe edges were never real, Maybe they were only perceived pauses in flow. River without edge, where everything continues as one movement. And I realize that continuity does not require limits. And the river continues without edges. And the river continues without edges. The village moves slowly through sound rather than motion, through cups placed on wooden tables, through voices drifting between open doors, through small rituals that repeat without needing attention. Nothing here feels fixed, yet nothing feels lost. The cafe becomes a center where everything passes through, but nothing stays completely. And somehow even passing feels like a form of staying. The village passed in cups and voices, in small moments that never announce themselves. And I sit inside this movement, watching life continue without needing to become anything larger than what it already is. A spoon touches ceramic, a chair shifts slightly, a laugh moves from one corner of the room to another, and all of it becomes part of the same quiet rhythm outside. The river mirrors this softness in its own way. Maybe this is what living sounds like, when nothing is trying to be remembered. The village passed in cups and voices, and everything that matters exists only while it is happening. And I understand that nothing here is trying to last, only to be experienced. And even when it fades, it leaves no gap behind.